Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is no stranger to the show. I think he comes here almost every sugaring season, or at least in the weeks leading up to it. It is Steve Wheeler, the co-owner of Jed's Maple Products in Derby. He owns the business along with his wife, Amy. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Scott. It's nice to be here with you.
Yeah, you've been on a few times. No better guy than to have my classmate from high school to come on and talk about sugaring. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had another fellow classmate on, Tim Kavanaugh, who's an entertainer. And then not too many weeks ago, a couple months ago, had Pierre Gervais. So sooner or later, we're going to have the entire class of 1984 on the show. So
Well, there's a class list, and you just go down through it. And but we're always got. I mean, you're a gracious host anyway, Scott. So we're always glad to come on and have a conversation.
Oh, from what I could see, we're having this winter must not be scaring you as much as, say, the last two or three winters when you just couldn't figure out the weather. This seems to be a little bit more normal, or is it?
No, it is. As with regard to snowfall, this is one of those years that we've kind of missed. We switched to snowshoes and we jumped back off them because we found we were still picking up as much snow when we were making our step. It's still very powdery. We needed to crust up just a little bit or pack itself down, and then we'll get the benefit of the snowshoe. But it's tough going in the woods. But the good news is we're more than halfway done tapping, and we'll be done within probably within a week. We'll have the rest of the woods complete.
And what I was meaning was more the weather. It doesn't, right now, it doesn't seem like we're having those. We're not going up to like 60 or something in January.
Well, no, you're right there. And I tell you what I do like. And I don't know how you know the trees always react the way the trees are going to react. But I will tell you this, Scott. The fact is that uh, we are seeing the cold weather that we're used to seeing. When you're seeing the below zeros, these woods need it. And for many reasons, it goes well beyond sugaring, but we're talking what bugs will come out in the springtime and summertime. And we we need to see some of this cold weather. Let the trees, what I like my dad always said, they're hunkering down. They're freezing hard. I kind of think of it, if you have a fairly decent sized diameter maple tree, think of a turkey in the freezer. If you take the turkey and you put it in warmer weather, it takes a while for that turkey to thaw completely, and that maple tree will awaken on a slower, more predictable pattern for us, and we can have a perhaps a gentler season where we don't get a warmth spell maybe that causes us to have to boil 3 days in a row because it's just warm, warm, warm.
When you have a real early warm spell, I mean, like even in January in the last, few years, do you go after the early runs or do you just write those off?
No, we don't. We've always, if we get a premature, that's what I call it, a January thaw, but a premature one, we haven't put the holes in the trees and we let that one go by. There are sugar makers that now are so big compared to what we do. I mean, we're still under 10,000 taps, but these big sugar makers with 30,000 taps, they have tapping crews that go out and, well, whether they like it or not, they have to turn on the vacuum pumps and they have sap coming in. And some of them aren't ready in the sugar house to process it. And they try to find somebody else who will take it and boil it in.
Right.
That's not our problem.
How many years have you been doing this? I know you kind of grew up in the business, but how long has Jed's been around?
Okay. Well, Jed's itself, I think we've been sugaring as Jed's for somewhere around 26 years or so. It's hard to keep track, I've I've been in the sugar house since I was 6, but when we moved back, we immediately headed to the woods and started small scale and kept building up the numbers of taps year after year.
And when people think of maple sugar producers around here, for the most part, they think of maple syrup, and but you make a whole wide variety of goods.
We do. Our maple syrup is found in a great deal of our product line. In fact, there's very few products we sell that don't actually have our maple syrup in them. Uh, but we make mustards, barbecue sauces, Worcestershire. We have maple sugar shaker mixes and rubs, as well as salad dressings. So yeah, we've got a pretty broad selection of product lines. We decided to go what I describe as a wide product line, so that when people come into our shop, say during the holidays or even in the summertime, if they want to get a present for somebody, a gift, a thank you gift, a hostess gift, uh, there's a broad selection that they get to pick from. They're not just relegated just to maple syrup or maple candy or cream.
Well, I head back over to Asia for I think the end of April or early May. So
Yeah.
that means a field trip to Jed's Maple to because I little Fiona, who's 6 years old, I call her Jed's the Filipino your Filipino promotion, your marketing person, because she's so cute when she's going at her maple products.
Well,
She
we consider her to be an ambassador. Okay, she really is a fan of maple products. It's funny, you
yeah,
a lot of the stories you've told me.
yeah, they all are. You would have been disgusted with me though, being a Vermont maple producer. But what I had to do in Southeast Asia to make sugar on snow is
Oh no.
it was sugar on ice. We had to go out and find ice because they didn't have any in the freezer, and it's not really like I think my old uh, neighborhood person, Johnny Carter, who has his ice make
Yep.
Arctic refrigeration. I think he needs to start a branch over in the Philippines because it's really hot there and it's hard to find ice. So we finally found ice and we crushed it up. And I got to admit, I didn't test the temperature and it was a little bit gone by, a little bit when I poured it on, but they just they just loved it. And yeah, so every time I go over, they're looking for also their maple leaf candies. So
Sure.
yep. Okay, and you can't get maple syrup. You know what they call maple syrup over there is either sugar cane or just some concoction they got from the store, got from the United
Oh,
States. Yeah, and
sure.
so this is a real treat for them. So what's going on this year? You're not you're getting your taps out, but you're not. You seem to be a lot calmer than this year with just that pattern just cooperating.
I was going to say the weather forecast is enough to keep me calm because I see in the long range forecast I've got at least 2 more weeks of
Yeah.
weather that'll play in my favor, and uh, it looks like the temperatures are slowly but surely actually rising there in the deep low figures now, but the temperatures will work their way up and they're coming in like a normal season, and it you know when you have no snow cover, warm really warms up the tree. But when you have a nice blanket of snow in the woods, Scott, it buys us a nice, calm sugar season, usually. I mean, I knock on wood because, hey, you can say that, and then in 3 weeks we just get nothing but days after days of rain or something. But no, I am hoping this continues to play out like it is.
And when is open house this year for the makers?
March 22nd and 23rd, and we've got a few surprises for people. So I think I'll leave that at that, the surprises part. But we have the specialty foods out for taste testing. We have some of course we'll have maple pizza, and sugar on snow will be given out all day. We don't charge for that, and it's a way to give thanks to the community. And so we're not going to not do it. This is part of our way of saying thank you to the rest of the town. They've we promote ourselves, but sometimes others in the town promote us and say, if you're going to get some maple products, why don't you stop in at Jed's? They're opening, and of course we're open like a normal store hours. So it works out well for us. And if people want to point them to us, it's our way of saying thank you to those people. Those people are our local internal support around us. It's great.
And I
I can't
know
say thank you enough. So this is
you were talking about your maple pizza. Now, I imagine somebody could get sick of it, but I couldn't imagine it myself. It's just
um
so good. I can't imagine getting sick of that. Is and I know you make your products all no calories. No.
yeah, would it yeah, that's it. We when we're making it with the maple syrup, we squeeze the calories out of
Yeah.
it.
Oh no, that's great. That is great pizza. Um,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know,
no, I haven't heard of anybody saying they had too much maple pizza. We give out samples where we can, and we also have people, they're actually buying we'll make a personalized pizza for them. I will. I am the guy who makes the pizza. I stand in front of the pizza oven all day, and it's a great way that I can talk to people one on one and say thank you for coming to our open house, and thank you for supporting us. So I'll be darned if I'll be anywhere but in front of the pizza oven.
it's unfortunate. I'm going to be in. I go back and forth, as you know, between Marquette, Michigan, Vermont, and the in Asia. But
Okay.
I'm going to just miss the open house this year. And as you know, when Penny was alive, we always went there. And and
Always.
yep. And that was the last, even the last year of her life. Because she died on July 29th, and we were there. We were there that sugaring season, and she was chowing down on your goods, and she never
She
missed a
was.
beat. So,
No. Well, I'm willing to give you a sneak preview, Scott, seeing as I'm here at your beck and call. It's nice. It's like you said, we've literally known each other since junior high with our lockers side by side. So, um, if you want a sneak preview of what we're going to be doing, you come on over and
I'll be
we'll
up. I'll be over in a few days. So Tom, the one thing you're not. Well, first of all, we know you're a showman, and you've always been. And I don't mean that in a negative sense.
yeah.
You use your theater ability, your music ability, and you interweave it with education, including environmental education, sugar, because I've watched you perform up there, and you love it. Now, granted, if Amy is anything like Penny was, I suspect she does a lot more than she doesn't like the camera, just like Penny doesn't. But I suspect Amy plays a big role too, right?
No, she does. I can't, boy, if I'd love to take credit for being something more than I appear to be, but I can't. I've got to say, Amy is. I've heard people say, "Oh, that person is my rock," or "That person is my." Amy does so much behind the scenes, and I don't take it for granted. Don't Please don't think I'm saying that, but sometimes she does things behind the scenes that I'm not even aware that she's done. And then she asks me, how did such and such go? And then I find out that it was her magic wand that actually started the whole process going. So I would be really remiss if I didn't say a warm thank you to her. I mean, we've been married 33 years, and she can read my mind pretty much now. She knew, for instance, we have a cutting board that we came across made of spalted maple, and it's actually ended up being bird's eye when we looked at it closely. And wow, she kept it. She's like, this one's going to be ours, our personal board. It just says us. But
So back to your
yeah,
theater and your education. You've also got quite a program for schools.
we do. That's actually a part that we're growing again. For a while, we laid low on it because we weren't exactly sure if we were going to be able to contribute that time during sugar season to educating the children as much as we want to educate children, and our focus is on making that connection for young adults to know that maple is not just something you get at the grocery store, but it's made by local people, not just necessarily us. And there's plenty of people in the community. If you know somebody who makes maple syrup, understand they're doing very similar thing to what we're showing you today. And it's go out and support them. It doesn't have to be us, but we want these children to learn that. But if you're a teacher out there, understand that we will custom tailor the education experience the child's going to have to what you're trying to teach, whether it's on the math side, the environmental side, uh, we can do everything from science. There's plenty of opportunity to transfer the knowledge these teachers, and we've had plenty of teachers in the past who've said, can you focus on such and such, and we make that happen. I know that we have a young girls organization that is coming, and I'm going to take them actually out to the woods. We're going out to the woods, and I have found a maple tree that is, well, let's just say it's not as alive as it used to be, and it's we're not going to be tapping it, and we know it's being cut this year. So I'm going to give them a chance to all tap that maple tree because I know the tree isn't going to exist in the summer. So it's they're going to get a chance to actually tap a tree, and then they get to see what we do, and they get to they all get a chance. It's kind of fun, the hands on, earn a badge.
Do you still keep a few buckets around hanging from the trees so people, because I know you're into the pipelines, but do you still have buckets that you
Well,
that
we do have buckets, but it's not the traditional buckets you're used to seeing because those are galvanized buckets and lead solder, so we can't use those. Those are we actually we do sell those, but it's so that people have a a snapshot of history that they can have with them, and they can use it to put newspapers that they're reading or umbrellas or whatever, an
right.
umbrella stand. But we do have some food grade buckets that we do keep around. We haven't tapped a maple tree with buckets for a while because I'll tell you the truth. When we're making maple syrup, uh, you have to go out and check those buckets, and then you have to collect that sap, and then you have to put it in your sap tank. And um, sometimes, if the run is a hard enough run, it's enough to keep up with the pipeline that's coming in. Just not to mention go out and say, "Oh, I got to collect my 12 buckets."
uh, and do you also, I know you produce the syrup, but I've listened to you. You also manage your land, not only for the sugar bush, but for the animals. And I think you've been honored by what, the Audubon people?
We have, yeah. Audubon has actually come. The actual magazine has come and they've done an interview on us specifically to talk about what we've done in the woods, and we are creating we are creating more habitat to protect our songbirds. There's about 27, and this is a bit of a scary thing, and I'll talk about it because this is important to us. Amy and I are very big on this bandwagon. Uh, there's about 27 birds, songbirds, that are home to the deciduous, the hardwoods of Vermont, and some of them, of course, not just Vermont. That'd be New York and New Hampshire as well. But these songbirds, we're losing them. They're not coming back to the woods, and at alarming numbers. Some of them to the tune of 2 to 5% per year. Now, suppose you can do the math really quickly. I'll just say 2%. Suppose you lose 2% of your songbirds a year. Over 10 years, compounded, that's about a quarter of the songbirds that are never going to come back to Vermont. We've lost them, and the ones that we're losing even faster, it's far more serious. So if we can create habitats so that suppose an owl enters the woods or a hawk or an eagle, as soon as some one of the birds sees it, they usually sound the alarm and everybody heads towards where they can hide. Well, if we give them habitat to hide in, then that's in their favor. But the other benefit is some of this habitat can serve a second purpose. It actually is creating a mecca, if you would, for the bugs and that eat some of the leaves that are going past, because now these are the dead tops from a tree that say we've cut. Well, now all of a sudden your peewee, like your eastern peewee, or just name the bird. There are some birds that eat only flying insects, so now they have a whole smorgasbord, if you would, of food source at that exact same habitat source we created for some of the other birds. So two birds, one stone there. Nah, that was really not good. I
Oh
think you get what I'm talking about.
yeah.
We're gaining on a lot of ground, and I can tell because we're listening to the songbirds. I've learned the sounds, the songs of many of these birds, just to get an idea. And the one biggest gain that I can tell you personally was our state bird, the hermit thrush. Now, the hermit thrush is one of the birds on the list, and we have seen a very large jump in the number of hermit thrushes that answer when I do a simple call to it. I'll do the call, and because they're quite territorial, you'll hear different responses in different areas of the woods, and we're hearing a lot more hermit thrushes in our woods now than ever before.
Okay, we only have about 10 minutes left.
Oh
What
boy,
more?
that was
Yeah,
fast.
with open house day coming up, you'll have to remind me of the dates again. When you get to be our age, your brain cells don't fire quite as quick. The That's just a it's 2 days of fun, right? Is
It's two
it two?
days of fun, March 22nd and March 23rd. And I'm one of the things that I don't want to spill the beans here, but if I'll get a chance to talk to some of our visitors, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to have a conversation and explain what we're doing. There's some really simple things that we're doing in the woods now, which have actually helped yields of all sugar makers. They're nothing. This is nothing I've thought up. We actually have. It's a lovely thing. The University of Vermont, University of Cornell, and have each their Uline is in Cornell. I know is that their school, and Proctor Research Center is a part of the University of Vermont, and they have scientists on board all the time who are doing research in maple, trying to find ways to help increase yield, protect our trees, better habits in the woods. And I'm going to talk about a lot of these things for a little while so that people get a chance to understand that there's far more that goes into it than us walking up to a tree and putting a hole, putting a spout and walking away. It's far more, it's very interesting, actually.
Yeah, even
Technology is
and
really,
I know the I find even the reverse osmosis machines. That to you, it's probably just simple technology. To me, that's rocket scientist stuff.
It
So,
it is it's quite simple actually, Scott. It's just a mechanical means of separating water from the sap. So 2% sap can be turned into, say, 14 or 16% sap by a simple physical process if you have the right piece of equipment. And it reduces the amount of time that the sugar maker has to spend in front of the evaporator. And if you time, I should say this differently. You've got to find out what your piece of equipment can make. If you are diligent, you will find the concentration that you can get away with, if you would, and still make darn good tasting maple syrup. And that's exactly, we've watched our concentrations, and we're still winning all kinds of awards with the syrup because the reverse osmosis has done its job, but not beyond what tastes good.
I do have to ask you this is, we're not getting any younger. We've celebrated our 40th high school reunion. Some of us have reached
Wow.
60. Are you now able to sit back and talk yet? Back when I was a kid, sugar making and tell them tales that things that don't happen today. You must have tales that you can tell that you look back on and think, wow, haven't we come a long ways?
Well, Scott, I will say this. I haven't pulled it back in my day. We had this, but I tell you what, I found I've Jed is our woods manager, and
Yeah.
he's in the woods like he's in the woods right now, even as we speak and are having this conversation. He's actually tapping trees, and I will relay things my father has told me and say, look, this is coming from your grandfather, and you can take it, for what it's worth. And I have been quoting my dad numerous times, and um, I'm afraid I don't have I'm not 60. I'm not old like you. I'm still what 59. So see, so the fact of the matter is I still have a few more years of reprieve before I have to start saying back in the day, I walked uphill to the sugar woods every day and walked back uphill to the house after,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I
Okay,
liked it.
you must have, 3, 4 more minutes left. How would you like to wrap it up?
I tell you what, if I had to wrap it up, I always want to get back to our customer base, whether it's people who send people over to our store, whether it's people who've tried our products and said they liked it, or sometimes it's just people that you meet, that for whatever reason we're able to take care of a need they've got. We're always saying thank you because there's not enough ways. I love when I get phone calls from our customers and they're calling to place an order. It doesn't bother me a bit that I take the order by voice instead of them doing it online because I finally get a chance to say thank you in person. And that's how I wrap everything I've ever done with you up, is saying thank you to the um but oh, my wife just, you talk about behind the scenes. She just walked up, enters the room, walked up and said, email us that you heard today, and we will email you back a recipe. So you can get a free recipe, and that's a way of us saying thank you as well. Our email is Wheeler. That's of course my last name, Wheeler, Wheeler, Wheeler at Jed's Maple, Jeds maple.com. So yeah, Wheeler at jedsmaple.com. And you can find it if you actually type the word Jed and maple and just let Google or Safari or whoever you do its thing, they'll find us. We'll pop up. Don't worry.
And
That is the email.
And you will be meeting sooner than later this spring, should be or early summer. You'll get to meet your Filipina ambassador here in the United States. So you'll be, she'll, you can, yeah, you'll get to meet your ambassador finally.
I can't wait. You tell her that. You didn't tell her that. I can't wait to shake her hand and say thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, it was always great having you on. And before I'll be back in Vermont for a month, collecting stories. And I know there's even been some talk about some people going out to fellow classmates' restaurant out in Island Pond, Pierre's Gervais.
Well,
So,
I think that would be absolutely awesome. We're big fans of Pierre, and I've known him again since actually I knew him when I was in elementary school. So uh, I can't think of a nicer, he and Aaron, I can't think of a nicer couple. It'll be awesome.
okay. Well, thank you for coming back on and have a happy sugaring season.
I expect to, and I'll see you before you head out. I look forward to seeing you again, Scott, in person.
Thanks. And thank you for coming on. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.